So welcome everyone to tonight's session. As you saw in the invite, this is Susan Gorvette. She is going to give us the presentation Audit Like a Jedi Knight. And we'll go through first a little bit of our ASQ general information, and then we will hand it over to Susan. We'll start with our quality and safety moment, which we normally do. And this one is actually something we put together for our leadership. And I just thought it might be something good for everyone here also. So I'm sure most of you remember in 2018 and 2019, the world probably was shocked by these two airplane crashes that took place only 5 months apart. One was Lion Air Flight 610 in October of 2018, and then Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in March of 2019. Sadly, they resulted in the death of 346 people. Ultimately, poor quality design by Boeing was attributed as the direct cause for the crashes, not pilot error, which is usually what we see or what they see often. But perhaps the more interesting story is the root cause, showing how Boeing, who had the reputation of being best of the best, got to this lowest point in the company's history. There was an extensive investigation that took place by the U.S. House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure following the incidents, and the final version of the report is shown here, and I think I probably have a link to it. Although there were many lessons to extract from this case, a few key ones stood out as relevant to what we do in quality in all of our companies. So for firms, especially architectural engineering firms, which is what AECOM is, where I'm from, where we design or our designed work touches millions of people, good quality definitely equals public safety. When we elevate safety, we should equally elevate quality, because safety and quality are two sides of the same coin. You can't get safety without quality. So another interesting lesson learned is that quality and safety culture clearly emanate from the top. At Boeing, once quality and safety were no longer highly valued and engaged with by the leaders, the erosion to quality eventually made its way into the product itself. It didn't happen overnight, but was years in the making. I liken that to some articles that I've read on normalizing deviation. So one of the things that we just need to remind our leaders in our own company, that really it is the top down. And once our leaders stop talking about the quality and safety, then unfortunately those items fall to the wayside. Sorry, I just saw an email of somebody wanting a link to the meeting, and I hopefully had sent it out to everybody. Hopefully he'll see that other email. Okay, so moving on, ASQ. For those of you that may not be aware, ASQ is a global quality community with members in more than 130 countries, whose mission is to empower individuals and communities of the world to achieve excellence through quality. ASQ membership offers many benefits, including access to quality resources, webinars, conferences, trainings, certifications, and more. Plus membership in one of ASQ's, so think about it. Maybe a membership in your local ASQ section. These are sections within our Pacific region. So you can see we've got quite a few lined up here in the Pacific region, which is our Columbia Basin section here, is what we or I belong to, and who's putting this session on. So one thing here, I didn't create a poll, but if you could put in the chat message if you are from one of the many sections here that are listed, and what your email address is. So I really need the email addresses. I have most of them from when you asked to participate, but just in case I can't find some of them, I'd really appreciate if you just put in the chat area your name and your email address. That'll help me make sure that I get you all your participation certificates. And I'm going to go by this because I didn't set this up, but it will be in a survey that we'll send to you after the session. This is another just real general information about the Columbia Basin ASQ. So if any of you are from the area here in the Tri-Cities, you can certainly take a look at this information. It will be provided to you after the call. And this is just some more detailed information and some emails of the people that you can reach out to if you would like more information about our section. And then we have just kind of these little meeting topics here. And for those of you that are in the area, might be interesting for you to note that we actually are going to have our first in-person meeting next month. Gosh, in over 2.5 years. It is going to be at the Bookwalter Winery. And it looks like I missed Bookwalter on here, but it is at Bookwalter. They're going through harvesting right now, and so their quality control manager is going to go through and show us what they do with when they're harvesting the wine. And then October, we're looking to get an AI chat GPT or just somebody to discuss AI and quality with us at that time. So it'll be back to our virtual. Okay, with that, I am going to hand you over to a wonderful presenter. I have had the benefit of taking her ISO 9001 lead auditor course. It was 4 days long and she never made it dull. So it was a wonderful class. And just want to thank you, Susan, for being willing to come and do this. It's 10 o'clock her time now, so it's going to be very late when we get done. And I just really want to say thank you so much for doing this for us.
Wonderful. Oh, I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. If you can just give me a thumbs up there and let me know that that's what you're seeing. All right, that looks good for me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, Denise, 4 days with me, and you had the nerve to ask me back for an hour presentation. Like, oh my gosh, you think you'd be tired? Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and I know putting these together takes a bit of work, and I appreciate you really being willing to put this together for your members. I think it's fantastic that the chapters continue to offer member value like this, and training and offering these webinars and these meetings. It sounds like such a small thing sometimes. It's like, oh, it's 1 hour, but these are really what kickstarts our way of thinking. And I love the fact that the sections are doing that. And I'm really sorry I'm going to miss that winery next month. Oh my gosh, like I just might have to do my own little wine tour maybe next month and think of you fondly. Yeah, amazing. But we're going to take a different kind of journey today. For sure. We're going to go into a galaxy far, far away. And we're here to learn about the soft skills of auditing. I want you to be able to understand, what does it take to be a successful auditor? Not just a trained auditor, but a successful auditor. And those are actually different. So we're going to talk about the ability to practice positive communication skills, the ability to make the audit the very, very best that you can do. And for whatever reason, these are the things that I think of at 4 a.m. I was thinking of the Jedi Code one evening, whatever, and had read a book called The Jedi Mind, and I absolutely loved the content of that book. book, and it was, mindfulness, and centering yourself. And I realized this is the stuff that auditors have to do. And I said, I've got to turn this into something. So I'm really excited and really happy to share my passion for a galaxy far, far away. Thank you so much. I am actively involved with ASQ. Yes. With the audit division, we have a conference coming up in November. We'd love to see everyone join us in Reno. Booked my tickets this week, so we'll be there, Reno, November 1st and 2nd. Happy to see that. And I'm content management chair for the audit division. So here's a quick plug for those that want to maybe write a case study, or they want to write about their audit experience or auditing in the first person. You could tell a little story there if you wanted to. Angela's excited. She just said, I'm a Reno resident. Angela, I want to see you in Reno. Come and find me. Okay. 100%. That would be exciting. But if you want to get something published and you want to maybe write an article or share a story about an audit experience that you have, reach out to me and we'll get that in the audit division newsletter, which goes out to all audit division members. So that's a great way to sort of get your name out there, tell a story, and we'd love to do that. I'm also content management chair for the quality management division, specifically to training and development. So if you worked on a training and development initiative, or if you've worked with your team members or in your company about a specific training and development event, I would love to put that in the quality forum as well. So we wear many hats, right, throughout the divisions, and that's for QMD, which is really exciting. And the last hat that I wear for ASQ, because I can't possibly hold anymore, is the chair of the technical programming committee and for World Conference for Quality and Improvement. And that is such an exciting opportunity. It's it's a 5-year commitment and then a 4-year commitment after that. It's an absolute privilege to be part of that technical programming committee, to meet the speakers and put together such a great program for World Conference. World Conference this year is in San Diego. Right. So May 16th, 17th, 18th, around there. We're talking to the West Coast here, so I'm talking to the right time zone. I would love to see everybody there. Please, please come down and see me. I will definitely be in San Diego as well. It's going to be a great time and really looking forward to that. So absolutely, if you want to know more about ASQ, if you want to get more involved in ASQ, reach out. I'm really happy to mentor you, to make connections, to put you to the right committees. We love our volunteers and we never let you go. Okay, let's continue on. What are we here to learn today? Well, I said it's the soft skills of auditing, how to be a successful auditor, and we want to practice those positive communication skills. I want you to be the Jedi Master of auditing. And Denise probably had heard me say, even beyond, this was Denise, even before we even did this training, I would always say, I don't want you to be the Darth Vader Auditor. Right? I had said that for years, and you probably heard me say that even before this presentation became a thing. And I want you to be that Yoda Jedi Master. I want you to be the balance, right? I don't want you to be the Darth Vader, but I don't want you to be the rubber stamper either, or for those of my Star Wars fans like the Stormtroopers, because they miss everything. That makes sense. Okay. Some of you might have got that one. Okay. All right. But you know what? We want you to find that balance. And hopefully after today, we'll be able to do that. So that's going to begin with a little bit of introduction. 5 main topics. You have to learn something about my galaxy far, far away, or the rest of this may not make sense for you. We are going to talk about the principles of auditing, and you're going to see the alignment to the Jedi Code, which is how this all got started for me. And I want you to understand that, being the presence of an auditor, those skills and the things that you need to pack as an auditor. You're not going to pack your clipboard. You don't pack a red pen, but you pack empathy. You pack a smile. We're going to talk about those kinds of things tonight, right? How to manage effective communications. And sometimes we get ourselves in a little hot water and we've got to figure out how to do, again, the balance of that, how to be the Jedi Master in the end, and maintain that balance so that the audit is a success. So I hope you're ready, because buckle up and we are ready to go into light speed. Let's get started. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic, before the dark times, before the Empire. Obi-Wan Kenobi said those words to me in a theater in 1977. He spoke to me in 1977, and those words changed my world, I can tell you. I remember seeing the movie and being instantly teleported to a different time, a different place, and I started on a journey that has unfolded over the last 50 years, and it has been an absolute joy to be able to see that. So let's figure out a little bit more about this galaxy far, far away and the world that George Lucas created. The word Jedi is known throughout the galaxy. We know the word Jedi. It's part of our pop culture. We've heard it growing up. You know, they are the defenders of peace and justice, right? They're the selfless heroes that put the Republic first. Right. And so I want you to be able to present yourself in your organization, whether it's internal auditors, internal audits, second party audits, third party audits. I want you to be the one to put the goal, first, to be that selfless auditor and be able to put the organization's goal first. So I'm going to ask you, how do you get to use the force? How do you get to use that power and control that force so that you can be the Jedi auditor that we want you to be, to take you from a trained auditor to a successful auditor? All right. So in order to do that, I said we've got 4 topics now, and we are going to break each one of them down for you. So understanding the principles of auditing, we're going to talk about those traits, the managing communication, and being the very best auditor that you can be. Again, we'll draw some analogies between that Darth Vader. I'm not sure that's who you want to be, but let's focus on being that Yoda. So the first thing to look at are the principles of auditing. So again, 4 a.m, I don't know why this comes. It just seems to be the right place to begin. When I started to look at this, the Jedi Code jumped out at me. When I was reading about the Jedi Code and I was thinking about my career over the last 25 years as a quality manager, trainer, consultant, auditor, I've had the opportunity to see the alliance between the Jedi mind and the auditor mind. And so this is what comes out of it. The Jedi Code, for those of you that know, there is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. And when I read that, I instantly went to, what does that mean for a Jedi Knight? And I realized that this is what the Jedi Knight represents. And I more closely aligned that to my philosophies of auditing. And I said, they are the defenders of peace, knowledge, serenity, harmony between the auditee and the auditor, all coming together using that process approach. And I started to think about what that Jedi Code really stood for. And then it jumped out at me that they represent the justice. They represent the loyalty, the protectors. They're the protectors of the Jedi scrolls, just as auditors would be the protectors of the ISO standards, and the standards that we're auditing against. Jedis offer that inner strength. They offer the wisdom. They offer bravery. And I realized that this aligns exactly to the 19,011 principles of auditing. Doesn't that just jump out to everybody? The basic principles of auditing are included in Section 4 in 19,011, the 2018 version. Right? So many years after 1977 of the A New Hope, when Star Wars first came out in the theaters and Obi-Wan spoke to me. And we realized that knowing that auditing is characterized by the reliance on these principles, and these principles are supposed to make the audit an effective and reliable tool in supporting our own audit process, they offer insight to the auditor's mind. And if we look at that, and we take that information, we begin to understand that it begins with, these principles of auditing. Sound audit begins with sound audit principles. And when I was doing training, like when Denise and I were talking about the lead auditor training, I would talk about these principles of auditing, and people would come up after me and say, I've been auditing for 3 years and I didn't even know 19,011, the auditing guidelines. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know there was an ISO standard for audit guidance. And yet here I've been doing it all this time. And I realized, wow, we really do need to go back to basics on this one. And so I needed to see that true representation of what an auditor really is. And again, seeing that alignment that we see between the Jedi Code and the principles of auditing. So when we talk about integrity, that's the piece. That's the professionalism. That's the inner peace and having that integrity within yourself, the ethics of auditing, right? And being able to present the peace and the wisdom, that we see, and that wisdom part forwards onto the fair presentation. Fair presentation when you're doing an audit, you can't misrepresent the data. You're not going to pick samples just from all the samples from yesterday or all the samples from last week. You're going to take a fair presentation of the audit samples of the records that you're going to be seeing, and that's going to align with the wisdom piece that you're able to see and report the audit truthful and accurately, and the audit findings and the conclusions that you're going to put in the report, so they're representative of what you saw in the audit journey, and the auditors could share their wisdom. And I realized, wow, that aligns, and we look at that due professional care. No one's more loyal than an auditor. The auditors care about the work that they do. They care about the process they're auditing. They're there to help, right? We want to present ourselves and be those that can help. And so we do that, and that's how we show and we demonstrate the loyalty that a Jedi represents, the loyalty that they have to the cause, the purpose, that selflessness, right? That they give of themselves. And we see that auditors need to be dedicated. They need to be loyal. And that's absolutely key. Confidentiality, I don't think we have to say anymore. We protect data. We're going to see things in an audit. We see things that could be sensitive. We see things that could, that we wouldn't normally see in the event of a regular day, perhaps, but we see it as auditors. Maybe their cost projections, sales, training records, whatever they end up being. We need to protect that sensitive information. And that's what aligned to the protectors of the Jedi Scrolls. We need to be protective of the audit information. We need to be protective of the ISO standards, and we have to make sure that we stand and we uphold that throughout the audit process. We don't tell our friends, we don't tell our neighbors. We want to make sure that we are protecting that information, and that's where we see that confidentiality piece come through. We know that audits, you cannot audit your own work. Why? We don't see our own mistakes. We know that, okay? It's absolutely critical that the audit process is independent. And that's one of the, an independent, systematic, documented activity is an audit. So we need to have that level of independence that we see and be able to conduct the audit in an unbiased way and be free from bias, right? That's what we want to see, and free from conflict of interest, So we want to make sure that the audit itself remains objective throughout the entire audit process, and again, holding that integrity piece that we would see as well. And we don't want audits to, fall into the situation where they end up auditing their own work, and that's just not going to give the integrity piece that we need to see. So that inner strength that we have to be independent, depend on ourselves, that self-motivated. We look at that within our regular day, and as a Jedi, we have to demonstrate that inner strength. As an auditor, we have to demonstrate that independence. And again, seeing the alignment. An evidence-based approach. Wow, we see a lot of evidence as auditors, for sure. We're always comparing. And I get in trouble sometimes because I say, auditors don't think, auditors don't feel, auditors compare. Right? We compare the evidence that we see against the criteria. And that's what we see. And so as auditors, we need to make sure that everything we see, everything that we read, all the ways that we can collect objective evidence using our audit superpowers, objectives, right? We have documents that we can read. We have situations that we can observe. We have interviews that we can hold. Our 3 audit superpowers: interviews, observations, and records, and making sure that that's how we collect the audit evidence needed so that it can be verifiable. right? And we need to take notes of that. We want to record the information and identify specifically, what did you look at? What did you look at? Mark down the dates, look for signatures, look for the information. If you're auditing a purchase order, write down the PO number, the vendor, the amount, who signed on, when it was supposed to come in, the arrival date or something like that. Mark all of that information down, because all of that information can be useful when you're continuing through the audit and making sure that we collect that audit evidence, and we can use our audit superpowers, interviews, observations, and records to record that information, to put it in our checklist and then in our audit report. And that's how we can prove that we have done justice to the audit process, where we have aligned and said, yes, this is exactly what we want to see. We were always able to, have factual information to back up our findings, right? And that relies on our ability to get good information, gather the audit evidence, and record it. Okay, we're going to talk about that as well, going from the mind to the hand to the pen, and be able to align that justice so that we can say, yeah, we have done a thorough audit and it's based on evidence. Auditors don't think, auditors don't feel, we compare. Okay, and we need to be just about the information that we see, factual based. And a risk-based approach. This is a good one, because boy, we see that there could be some risks, and we're facing risks all the time. I want you to take a risk-based audit approach to auditing. High-risk processes get audited more frequently. Low-risk processes get audited less frequently, okay? Always try to take a risk-based approach to planning our audits, and take a risk-based approach where we're able to focus our attention. We spend more attention in one area because it's higher risk, less time in another area because it's lower risk. Maybe we audited in the past, it had a lot of failures. We're going to, put a little bit more emphasis on there, right? Using a risk-based approach, but we have to put that brave face on and be willing to go into there, because we know that this is a volatile process. Where this process has gone up and down. This process has read like a heartbeat lately, and we got to be willing to face that down and say, we're ready to bring on that challenge. We're ready to look at that risk, and we're ready to make sure that that risk is mitigated through effective actions and so on. High risk processes being audited more frequently, and low risk processes being audited less frequently. So putting on that brave face, I think, is really important. I love the alignment of what we saw here, right? And seeing how well that this ties into being a successful auditor, right? And I think that's important. So what I've done after each sort of a area that we cover from an audit perspective, I found some really interesting quotes. So let's go through and see what it says. The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. Obi-Wan, he did some great work there, I can say. And he's talking about the Force, and he's talking about the energy field. And he said it best when I was talking about the principles of auditing. It's about putting that whole thing together and using that force around us so that we can drive better audits in our company, within our organization, and use these tools and these principles of auditing and remember the principles of auditing, right? Every time we go out to do an audit. It surrounds us, it binds us, right? It binds us together, and putting all those pieces together, allowing that to flow over the audit process approach, make the connections between inputs and outputs, right? Making it surrounds us, it penetrates us, and putting that all together. I think if you do that, you're going to get a really solid process audit result. I like it. Using that process approach to make the connections. Obi-Wan, he's a great guy, knew what he was doing. Let go. Qui-Gon Jinn. Always remember your focus determines your reality. Whatever you focus on is going to play a role in how the audit unfolds. Okay? So if you have a tendency to always look at calibration, then chances are you're going to focus on that area more. You might streamline your audit unknown, right? You may streamline your audit in that direction. And we may end up looking at our processes, with the training background, you might focus or lean more towards that. But we have to remember to use all of those audit principles to get fair, accurate, truthful representation of auditing, right? With ethics, with integrity, remaining true to the purpose of the audit. So we need to make sure that we're not, in this case, I said chasing squirrels, right? As auditors, we get distracted by shiny things. Okay, we just gotta let that go. I mean, and you know yourself if you've ever done audits and all of a sudden, squirrel, and you're gone somewhere, right? I mean, I do that. I'm distracted by shiny things. Oh, this looks really cool. I want to see this really neat thing or this process that's happening here. Don't go chasing squirrels. Or in the world of my galaxy far, far away, for those that know, chasing womp rats. All right, we need to make sure that we remain true to the purpose of the audit and we live and breathe and follow those principles of auditing. Let go. Your focus determines your reality. Your focus and reality needs to be those principles of auditing. All right, I like it. Okay, so what does that mean for you? It means I need to take you from a trained auditor to a successful auditor. Now, how well you do that? Hey, I can't control that. This one's on you. All right. So let's talk about what it takes to be a trained auditor. A trained auditor, ISO 19011, 2018, it has a section 7.2.3, and it says auditors need to have an understanding of, audit principles, the processes, the methods. Auditors need to know auditing. Okay, well, that's good. 19,011 is a good place to begin for that. Learn the guidelines, right? ASQ TV, by the way, I'm going to put a plug in there for ASQ TV. I adore ASQ TV. Like, I watch it like YouTube. Like, I love ASQ TV. Watch those 5-minute videos and root cause analysis and Ishikawa diagrams and, watch those 5-minute video vignettes that will help you encourage the training that you can have. There's articles in Quality Progress. Again, the audit report that the audit division publishes, asq.org, search it. There's so much there. If, your books on the CQA and the information on how to get specific information about a particular audit area that you want to focus on, whether it's environmental, quality, health and safety, food safety, whatever. Right? You do need to have some awareness of the standard that you're auditing. That's going to make you a trained auditor. Okay, so we need to know auditing and we need to know something about the criteria that we're going to be auditing against. The 131 hidden shall statements that are in ISO 9001, we got to know that, right? Because you've got to be able to ask yourself, have I seen sufficient evidence to support conformity? That means you got to know what that shall statement was, right? You should know something about the organization being audited. This is where my 25 years of experience have all played a role. I have, clients in forestry. I can audit pulp and paper. I have, I used to work in pharmaceuticals. I can audit medical situations now. I mean, all of the things that we do in our career have loaned ourselves experience that we borrowed from that event that help us be great auditors in the organizations that we work in. So if you work in your organization, you're doing internal audits, that's an easy one. Check mark, you got that, right? And if there's any other specific requirements that you might need to know, any other specific industry standards, right? You might have to do some digging in that, okay? So try to find that out if you can. If there's any specific regulatory requirements, make sure you're aware of the impact that this has on the business, okay? Because that can play a role. And I've worked in some organizations that have some pretty unique statutory and regulatory requirements, and it's a little bit different. So remember to investigate that, okay? All right, that's me doing a whole bunch of talking. That makes you a trained auditor. But what makes you a successful auditor? So this is where you get to use the chat box here, okay? So let's use the chat box and see if we can open a discussion about some adjectives of what makes a successful auditor. I love this slide. I mean, this is where we get some really creative input. So if you can, load up the chat box, throw something in there in Teams, okay? And I'll read them off as we see them come forward. What makes a great auditor? And throw in any suggestions that you want to put in. They're coming in fast now. Objective, yeah, absolutely. Empathetic, Oh, I got adjective twice. That's so important. Yeah, absolutely. Auditors need to be fair. They need to be fair in how they represent and look at the data. They need to be knowledgeable, fact-based, stick to the facts, right? A good listener. Yes, I love it. Organized. Oh my, I'm loving organized. Yes, I'm loving organized. Absolutely, because that's a big deal. And not only organized, but we need to have that punctuality, right? Time management. We have to organize our time. Thorough. Yes, absolutely. A great communicator. A good auditor needs to be able to put together a good audit plan. Oh, mentoring. That is the first time I've seen mentoring in that one. Absolutely fabulous. Honesty, integrity. Look at what we've got going on here. Yes, 100%. Loving them. These are what makes a great auditor. Willing to challenge. That's a good one. Acting with fortitude. Boy, oh boy, doing the right thing might not make you popular, but it's always the right thing. That is a great one. An ability to convey the importance of the requirements, to explain why we're looking for this information, right? Yeah, look at that. I love it. Look at the list you came up with. Give yourselves a pat on the back for that one. Excellent. I love it. 100%. So this is the list I came up with when we start to look at some of the other sections of the ISO standard. And here they are. Tenacious, right? That dog with a bone. Don't be willing to back down, right? Stay with it, right? We want to be able to be decisive, right? Auditors need to make decisions. We need to be aware of that. They need to be organized. We heard about that one. Patient, empathetic. That was one of our first ones. Punctual. Yeah. Time management, organized. Yes. Versatile. Okay. Well, I want to talk about versatility and flexibility for a moment. These are the two, versatility or flexibility. I struggle with those. I struggle with versatility, I think, because we're paid professional control freaks, right? I think that's our job as auditors, as quality managers, right? Everything has a place in place for this is how we do it, right? You know what I mean? But I think in my head, that I had the audit plan. I wrote the audit plan. I sent you the audit plan 30 days ahead. I show up and you're not doing purchasing at 10. You want to do purchasing at 2? Are you kidding me? You didn't think to tell me that 7 days ago when I could have adjusted my head to it, right? Versatility and flexibility are some of the real challenges as an auditor because sometimes things don't go the way we think they will, right? So we need to pay attention to that. I think that's a really good point to put on there. I will say the other one I struggle with is patience. I do struggle with patience in an audit personally. This is just me. This is just me talking. This is Susan, right? Patience. My mom says, you need to be more patient. I said, Mom, I don't have time. She's like, well, I'm going to give it to you for Christmas. I can't wait, Mom. But that's plagued me my whole life, But as auditors, we have one enemy. I know sometimes it feels like we have more. I know. But as auditors, we have one enemy, and it's time. There's just never enough time. And that's a real challenge for us sometimes. So I find that patience, that versatility, those are things that I really struggle with. Empathy, I get it. Sincere, I dedicate myself to the audit. I want to listen to what you have to say, and the rest I remember to pack in my audit toolkit. By the way, this is your audit toolkit. I told you, don't pack a clipboard, don't pack a red pen. You pack this. This is what you bring to the audit, right? Every time you show up, right? And if you say the audit's going to start at 8, you show up at 8, right? Whether you're bringing donuts or not, hey, that's up to you, but you show up at 8, right? We want to make sure, oh, sorry about that. We want to make sure that you're always doing that, right? 100%. All right. That was very odd. There we go. Auditors need to be ethical. Yes. Fair. We talked about that already. Observant. We said that. Diplomatic. That's a great one. We have to be able to give difficult news in a very good way. And it's a trick. It's a gift. It's a skill. But skills can be learned. Skills can be learned, right? So that's a very, very good point of how important that is, right? Auditors need to be open-minded. My husband said I'm not open-minded. I tell him he's wrong. But anyway, when we start to go at the open-mindedness, like again, it might not go the way we thought it was going to go. That's not what I was expecting. That doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay, you need to have an open mind of that. Open mind, open ears, open eyes, right? And look at the situation and realize that, okay, it's not what I was expecting, but I see where you're going with this, right? And to dig a little bit deeper, right? I think that's a great one. Perceptive, yes. Perceptive, not just on what people are saying, but what people aren't saying. I think that's a great word. It's a good descriptive word for an auditor. Picking up on those visual cues is just as important so that you're able to understand the situation. And I think that's a really good one. Self-reliant, we talked about that. We need to be, self-motivated. And sometimes we are auditing on our own. Even if we audit in a team, we quite often have our own responsibilities to the team and to report back to the team leader. So being self-reliant, you're responsible to stay on time, to get your job done, and to feed that information back to the team leader. That's a good one. And understanding, again, it goes along with that empathy piece, right? That we need to appreciate that people are making time out of their day, and people get nervous. I don't know of anyone that wakes up in the morning and says, yes, I'm going to get audited today. I'm not convinced that happens. Okay. I want to think it does. I want to think you all do it before I walk in the door. I'm really excited for that. But sometimes I walk in the door and I hear the words every auditor never wants to hear. Oh, is that today? And it's like, yes, this is today. I sent you the plan, 30 days ago. I confirmed it by phone 7 days ago. Yes, this is happening today. But be understanding. You don't know what they've gone through. You don't know what their yesterday was like. You don't know what their morning was like, right? So I think if we can take this whole package and put it together, this is what brings you from trained to success. And that's what I want you to walk in. So again, leave the clipboard, the red pen home. I don't have red pens. I'm telling you, look, I've got green, I've got orange. I've even got a pen that writes brown. That's weird. Okay. So I do not have a red pen. I don't keep it. I love highlighters. I got highlighters and every color marker you ever want to see, but I do not have a red pen and I don't carry a clipboard, right? I don't want to have that. I want to see that this is the stuff that I pack. This is what you bring with you. Because you know what? Nobody cares that you spilled your coffee going into work. Nobody cares, right? That you got in your car, you're out of gas, you're running, right? When you do the audit, you're Susan the auditor, right? And so that's important to consider as well. Bring this with you every audit you go, right? So again, some really good quotes. You must unlearn what you have learned, Yoda. Starting over. And when you're doing audits, you will let go of those preconceived notion, right? And looking at those traits, the things that you went in expecting to see, no. You go in there, you check Susan at the door. Everything that you've learned, everything that you've walked, you know what? You are there. You are there to gather audit evidence through interviews, observations, and records. Right? Using your 3 audit superpowers. Listen to what people are saying, observe what's happening, and read the records and be detailed while you do it. Okay? You need to demonstrate those skills of a successful auditor each and every time. Okay? That's the expectation. And I think that's really important for us to keep that in mind. All right, bring that with you each and every audit. This is my favorite quote, and I say this all the time. Don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are. Leia said this, man. She had a mission. She was having some emotion there. Be practical, right? Don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are. That's what I can work on. I can only fix a problem if I know about it. Don't try to sugarcoat, and as auditors, we need to look at the practical application, right? We need to use our powers of interviews, observations, and records in an unbiased way to gather the audit evidence, to look at the audit evidence, and to compare the audit evidence, right? Auditors don't think, auditors don't feel. We compare to get a fair, objective, ethical, professional, honest way that we do that comparison so that we can draw findings that are factual and value added, right? You're not doing any help to your company if if you just try to sugarcoat it or dress it up, or if someone else is trying to dress it up for the auditor, right? That's not going to do any good for anyone. So don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are. And as auditors, you look at what they are. Okay. Qui-Gon Jinn, again, our actions are a reflection of our purpose. Turn off autopilot, right? Dig yourself out of the audit rut. Change the idea of, well, that's how we've always audited this process. And I've heard that before when I go in and they say, well, that's not what our other auditor looked like. That's not what our other auditor looked at, turn off the autopilot. Okay. We tend to get so robotic, particularly if you've done audits in your organization for a longer time, that we can be complacent ourselves. And when we ask the same questions in the same way to the same people, they're eventually going to figure out how to answer it the way we want them to, right? And then we condition our auditees, right? Turn off the autopilot, right? Give yourself a break. Break that repetition, because when you use the same checklist, you're conditioning your same answers, right? And so shake things up a little bit. If you want to use a pre-printed checklist to save time and planning, I'm not saying don't ever use them. Oh, I'm going to get hate me emails. I'm not saying don't ever use them, okay? But I'm saying add more. All right, add more. Use a hybrid, right? And then look at it from a different perspective. And, if you've always taken that process from input to output, why don't you look at that process from output back to input? Walk backwards through the process. Same process audit, but looking at it from a different point of view. I guarantee you're going to see something different, right? Turn off the autopilot. That's how we've always done it. I'm not convinced that's what you want to do. You know what? The other thing to do, shake up your auditors. Right? So I'll audit it one day. Denise is going to audit it the next time. Right? And if you can have an audit team where you can break that up a little bit, have the seasoned auditor audit, and then have the rookie audit look at it next. Right? You could do that too. Because you know where the dirt is. You know where the skeletons are. You know what I mean? Like, you've gone through this audit a few times. You know the rut, right? You know the routine. That new kid, the rookie auditor, he doesn't know it hasn't been tried. And he's going to ask creative questions. He's going to ask risk-based questions. He's going to ask, well, what about this? Well, what if that? Turn off autopilot. Change it up a little bit. Okay? Change it up. And if you find you're getting complacent, shake it up. All right. Qui-Gon Jinn. He knew what he was talking about. All right. Some things come natural to people and some things don't. Okay. And this is what just happened. So we might think, that networking is easy. Networking is normal. Networking comes to people naturally. It doesn't. When you're in a room full of people, and you've got, some work to do, or, you want to meet people, or you're trying to, just be social or whatever, it can be very difficult for some people to build that network. And not everybody knows how to approach people. Right? And so I like this one. I was in a session with Nancy Noonan from World Conference. She did that in 2016, I think, 2018 in Fort Worth, maybe. She talked about how to introduce yourself, right? And so I use the example here of Luke Skywalker. So here's the setting: how to approach people. You got to give a solid introduction. Great audits begin with great introductions. Okay. And so when we look at that, how to approach people, Luke Skywalker, he's into Death Star, episode 4. And he realizes that Princess Leia is in the detention cell. And he says, I can't believe it. She's here. And Han Solo's like, who? And he's like, the princess. He's, what? She's here. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to march into the detention area, buddy, to try to save some princess. And he said, if you were to rescue her, the reward would be. And he's like, what? I don't know. Well, more wealth than you can imagine. And Han Solo says, I can imagine quite a bit. And Luke says, you'll get it. Han Solo says, I will. I better. You will. Okay. So Luke comes up with this great plan. He goes into the detention cell. He's dressed as a stormtrooper. Okay, he's got Chewbacca. He's dressed as a stormtrooper. And he barges into the princess's cell. And then she's laying there like, paint me like one of your French people, Jack. Oh, sorry, wrong movie. And then he walks in. And then he says, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And she's like, what? And then he realizes what he's done. He takes his helmet off. He said, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi. Ben Kenobi, where is he? And they go out running. right? And so what he did is he introduced himself, he said his line, and he gave a reason for why he's here. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi. He made the connection, right? He made the connection. That put her at ease. She understood this is someone who's here to help me. He knows what he's talking about. And so, sure, they go off and running, but okay, that particular example didn't work out so well. They ended up in a trash compactor and it was kind of messy. Anyway, don't watch the movie. It's okay. Everything turns out. I don't want to spoil the end, but anyway, watch the movie. You'll love it. And so that's the idea. That's what the introduction is about. So when you go simply there to say, hey, I'm here to do an audit, and you go back into it, you're like, what? The person didn't get that. So give them the tagline, break out your name. Hi, my name is Susan, Susan Gorvette. That's easy to remember, like Gorvette, like the car with a G. That's what I always say, okay? It's spelled different, but don't worry about it, okay? But then I said, I'm here to do an audit. I'm here to look at all the things great that you're doing. I tell them I'm going to be making some notes, and I let them know if that's okay. I ask them, okay? And so we give that introduction. We share that information, right? And so that's what we want to see when we do the audit. Don't just simply walk in there and say, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you. That doesn't mean anything. I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit, and I'm here with Ben Kenobi. That's what you need. The step-by-step way of giving that solid introduction. Great audits begin with great introductions, right? Don't forget that, and be sure to do that. If you need to think of Luke Skywalker barging into the detention, anyway, again, watch the movie. Highly recommend. Okay, now, how to manage the communication. Let's talk about building rapport. How to build rapport. We want to give that good information. We said that solid introduction. Find a common ground, the R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi. Find that common ground. Find something that has a hook. Look for the Sidney Crosby jersey. Sidney Crosby, by the way, home Nova Scotia born. All right, no worries about that. We actually have three hockey players in the NHL right now, which is pretty cool. Just from my little small town, who knew? Anyway, establishing common ground. Try to find that hockey jersey. Look for the beach wedding, right? The Red Wings jersey. Okay, listen, I'm in Detroit for 7 years. I'm a Red Wings fan myself. Okay. Open discussion. The best audits are when they're open, clear, transparent. Tell them you're taking notes. Let them see you're taking notes. Build rapport. Have an open discussion. I was doing an entire audit, and at the end of it, I gave a summary to the young fellow I was auditing, and he said, "Wait, you're leaving? That's it?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I've got everything I need." He said, "Well, I didn't even feel like I was being audited. I just thought we were having a conversation." And I said, "Exactly. That's what you want your audit to be, right? Smile, build rapport, right? Build rapport, a smile. And you know what? Smile with your eyes, right? Smile with your eyes. Make sure like people see that smile, right? Understanding that. We don't want to be the grumpy auditor. Nobody wants to be audited by that guy, right? Don't show up in ripped jeans. And you know what? Not even the expensive ripped jeans. Okay? Just don't. Okay, just don't. My kids pay tons of money for ripped jeans. Just don't. Okay, proper dress, right? Now the 3-piece suit. I'm not saying that may not be where you want to be either. Okay, so you find that balance. Okay, building rapport. Rapport is about a connection and that positive momentum of the communication. Right? And a friendly demeanor, it goes a long way. And again, nobody cares that you spilled your coffee, or I give the example, the cat threw up in my shoe. By the way, 2 times that happened, 2 different pairs of shoes, 2 different cats, 2 decades apart. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, nobody cares that happened the day I was going to do the audit, right? Just check that at the door and have that friendly demeanor, right? And having that number one, that feeling that you're here to help. And if you can convey that to them in the first 5 or 10 minutes, you've got the R2 unit, you're there with Ben Kenobi, you're going to be off and running. You'll probably not end up in the trash compactor either. That was a bad idea. But in the end, it worked again. It's all good. All right. Watch your open body language and we'll have a chat about that again. Okay. Where to start? Well, ask good questions. Be genuinely curious. Okay, that's really all I can say there. Ask questions that draw out good answers. Okay. And open-ended questions, that gets the auditee talking, right? As an auditor, you don't do the talking. You want them to do the talking. So try to get some really good open questions and work with those and practice those. Okay. Good questions give good answers. Be genuinely curious. I love that piece. Right? I love that piece, right? And so, it's really up to you in terms of how much detail you want to put in there, whether you want to, go deep dive, you're asking a high level and then you follow the audit trail and you dig a little bit deeper, you come back out, ask another open-ended question, and you go back down again. Okay. Very, very easy for you to do. Okay. 100%. And then the body language piece that we do need to talk about. What are your eyes saying? I said, smile with your eyes. We do smile with our eyes, right? And what is your face showing? I have no poker face whatsoever, right? I have no poker face. I can't hide anything. So you need to work on that because no one wants to see an disbelief on your face, So watch your body gestures, the eye movement, the physical space that you even give to the person. Right? The nonverbal communication, the way that you communicate is so critical and it's such a big deal. All right. So watch out for that as well. And be cautious on that, right? Do you project confidence or disbelief? Those are very different things. You might be saying the same words, but you could be showing different things. So watch your body language. That shaking leg, like if the auditee sees that you're nervous, they're going to start getting nervous. Don't do that. Okay, watch that. I also know that I fidget a lot. So I like to hold things in my hand if I have to. And that just sort of like, okay, if I'm holding things, then I'm not fidgeting, right? And so that makes me look more calm. All right. And as auditors, we have to be great listeners. As auditors, we have to be great listeners. We're not going to talk about that other column. We're going to look at the OTA one, right? You need to wait for answers. Be attentive. Again, that positive body language, how to listen, give those visual cues, right? Be open-minded again. Good listeners, remember what's said. Okay, that's how to manage communication. Open-minded, good listeners remember what's said, and we want to have that great reception, communication, conversation back and forth all the time, right? That other, no, we're not going to talk about that other one. We're not going to look at that one. The good news is you can change every bit of this. You control this as an auditor. You control your tone, your voice, your tone, right? You control your eye contact, your posture, your position, right? Are you slouched? Are you like, whatever, right? Change the distance. If you find someone's getting nervous, back up. Give them a little bit more space, right? That might help. That might help. And it just might be enough to tip the scales to get back on track for a successful auditor. Okay. These are really critical things that you need to be aware of in improving communication. But you can do every single one of these, right? You just have to be perceptive enough to pick up on it. Watch out for the agitation. Watch for the nerves. Watch for the anxiety. Give them the space. Slow down. Change your tone, and let them know it's okay. And you know what? Maybe they do need a break. Give them a break. You got to take notes anyway. You're going to have lots of reporting. You give them a 10-minute break. You got enough to do, right? All right, Luke Skywalker. Breathe. Just breathe. Probably one of the best advice you can give an auditor. Be mindful of audit stress, not just auditee stress, but auditor stress, like our stress. It's real, right? A few calming breaths can be just what you need to continue the communication. If you feel it's getting out of control, if you're feeling a little agitated, you take a step back, you breathe, and you eliminate those those emotional distractors, right? And so stay focused on it, right? I said, park Susan at the door, right? Today you're Susan the auditor. Take a breath, relax, okay? And that's important. And if you find that you're feeling that you're getting worked up, take a step back and then you take 10 minutes. The report will always be there. You just write it tomorrow. All right. Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him. Organize yourself. Relax. Take a break. Get your notes ready. You need to take the time to listen to what's said and take it and have that moment to take it from your notes and write down your notes. And that means it has to come from your mind to your hand, to your pen, to your paper. And it's okay to take that time to say, I need 5 minutes just to put all of this down so that your notes can be comprehensive and solid, right? Take that time. Organize yourself, organize your notes from your mind to your hand to the pen to the paper, right? And that Obi-Wan, I'm telling you, for every action we undertake, for every word we speak, for every life we touch, it matters. Qui-Gon Jinn. Even a brief encounter can have an impact on the integrity of the audit. Offer kindness. Say thank you. Always look for the good. Look for the positive. It matters. It matters to the auditee, right? Compassion, kindness, it goes a long way in the integrity of the audit. And it might have just been a quick exchange. I just had to get some records. Don't ever forget to say thank you. Appreciate the work that they did. They have made time out of their day. And you have no idea what that positive impact could be. That you have a positive interaction, the compassion and the kindness, and saying thank you to an auditee of someone who could have been really worked up. But you took the time to offer that kindness and compassion during the audit and to say thank you and appreciate what they did. That's a good thing. And you have no idea the impact that could have on the auditee. That's a big deal. Conversely, if you don't, the negative impacts are significant. So focus on the good. For every life we touch, it matters. And when we're auditors, we touch, we impact, we talk to a lot of different people. Listen. Lyra Urso, trust the force. Be confident in the audit. If you know the story of Jyn Erso and Rogue One, be confident in the force. Trust the force. Be confident in the audit that you did. And if you're confident in the auditee will also feel confident in the audit. Trust your audit style. Trust your audit knowledge. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts to build that positive audit experience and therefore value-added results. Trust the force. I love Rogue One. All right, now you need to deal with those things that may not happen, but they could happen. Audits don't always go smoothly, and there could be some conflict. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because I hope it never happens to you. And I don't think conflict is ever truly intentional. I think people really do try to do the best that they can do. I don't think any auditor is unscathed. I think we've all had a level of conflict over our career, but I think it's just simple defensive behavior. I think it's truly just people getting nervous, and maybe agitated, and they're a little antagonistic or something like that. Again, if you packed your audit toolkit, we spent so much time talking about that earlier this evening. If you packed your audit toolkit, you're fair, objective, kindness, empathetic, ethical, honest, truthful, right? Patient, versatile, right? If you packed your audit toolkit, you need to dig deep when these things happen. Don't respond. Don't give in to the emotion, right? Again, that Jedi, there is no emotion, okay? You got to resolve that conflict in a very factual way. I'm not saying it will happen, but it could happen, okay? But I do believe that it's not intentional. For the most part, I think truly people are confused. They're nervous, they're agitated, and it just happens to come out. You dig deep in your audit toolkit and you smile and wave through it, okay? So what do? I mean, just recognize it. Yeah, listen, okay, I get it. This is a concern. Talk to the auditee. I'm not saying that you put the two of them in a room like the Thunderdome. Two goes in, one comes out. Again, different movie, but you know what I'm saying, right? Okay, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that you might want to talk about it and understand and again, truthful, accurately, to understand, being able to read all parties, okay? Particularly if you're a team leader, this is a big role for you. But I've done audits where I just had a fellow that was really, really gruff, and he did not like being audited. So I finally said to him, I closed my laptop, I put my pen down, and I said, this is such a bad story. I said, I know you don't like being audited. But I said, I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't like auditing you either. And, and honestly, it was the first time he ever cracked a smile. And I said, you make my job so hard. Why are we doing this every time we meet? Like, can't we just get beyond this? Can't we get beside ourselves? You know what I mean? And I truly just brought it out to the open. I'm not saying you should do that, but it worked. It worked with this fellow. It worked, and he's been good since. He's been good since, and we found an understanding, But we needed to talk about it. Like, this wasn't getting us anywhere, and I think that was important. Anyway, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but being a Jedi Master means a master of all. Try to remember, always put purpose ahead of your feelings. If we could just take a moment and appreciate that Anakin Skywalker actually said that, how wrong is that? Like, I can't believe that those words came from Anakin, right? Always put purpose ahead of your feelings. Like, he totally didn't do that. But these are his words. A cooler approach can facilitate the best decision making. All right. I think that's important. Don't engage in the bad behavior. Don't engage in the antagonistic behavior, right? Stay true to the facts. Listen, I'm just here to do the audit. Help me help you. Oh, there's another movie. Help me help you, right? Jerry Maguire, right? But use that. Use that. Like, listen, I'll get out of your hair as quick as I can, right? Put purpose ahead of your feelings. Don't feed into it. All right. Find importance of everything. The force is not a power you have. It's not about lifting rocks. It's the energy between all things, the tension, the balance that binds the universe together. Luke Skywalker. Devote yourself to the purpose of the audit. Okay? Devote yourself. Let go of everything else at hand. The report that has to be done, your inspections, the phone calls, the conference calls, the team meeting that you have to go to. Let go of that, accept the audit at hand, and engage in the audit. Use your audit senses, and in the end, you might actually discover something new about yourself as well. My friends, that is going to bring us to the very end. I just absolutely love this topic. As you can tell, I'm truly passionate about the world that George Lucas has created. And for those of you, I would be really excited if you have similar stories. Again, if you want to write an article or anything like that, I would love to listen and certainly willing to help. If you've got questions, this is a good time for us to have some questions. So please ask questions. Please don't ask me why Chewbacca did not get a medal. I do not understand that. Why? Why did Luke and Han get the medal? Chewbacca was in the Millennium Falcon. Don't ask me that question. I don't have a good answer for you. I wish I did. All right. But this is a good time. Throw something in the chat box there, and I'd be certainly willing to help out. If you do have questions or you want to learn more, go back to that 19,011. Back to the basics, right? Practice those positive communication skills. Check out ASQ TV for great audit tips. Why not? It's so critical. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Thank you to ASQ for the section for hosting this and having me as your guest. I really appreciate it. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Susan. That was wonderful. We really appreciate your time this very late evening for you. Yeah. And does anybody have any questions for Susan while we have her here cordoned off?
Oh, that's great. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, the energy. Yeah, that that comes easy when I'm talking about Star Wars. You can listen. I'm going nowhere. I'll talk about it all night long.
I would say you do it in every presentation I've seen you do. You have great energy. That's what keeps us all involved. That's why you can sit through 4 days with you and not be tempted to do your other work on your other screen and all those great things.
That's wonderful. I appreciate it. Yes, 100%. And I looks like it is being recorded, so I'll leave that to you, Denise, if that's an option for the link. Yes. Some of them are asking for that.
I will turn it into an MP4 and I should be able to send it to you. Hopefully it will work. We've we've gone through a couple of iterations, so.
No worries. I've got some other links of other recorded ASQ events on my website too. So I think it's on the About page. There's a bunch of free
Okay.
stuff there. So there are some
Okay.
other ones there that people want to see. And there's an article called Audit Like a Leader. That was the precursor to Audit Like a Jedi Knight. So